Welcome to the Clinician's Corner, the go-to podcast for functional health practitioners who want to deepen their clinical skills and deliver exceptional client results. I'm your host, Margaret Floyd Barry, Master Restorative Health Practitioner and Executive Director of the Institute of Restorative Health. Each week, I interview leading experts to bring you the latest research, case studies, and evidence-based strategies for reversing chronic disease with actionable insights you can implement immediately to elevate your practice and transform how you deliver health. Hello, everybody. So excited to have you here for an amazing episode of the Clinician's Corner. This has been a long time coming. We have Dr. Marisol Teijeiro. You probably know her as the Queen of Thrones. And Dr. Marisol, we scheduled this for a year and a half ago, I think. It was a while ago. We had it scheduled and there was a bunch of things that got in the way. So here we are at long last. I've been so looking forward to this conversation. Welcome.
Too. My gosh, it's been since the time that we were in San Diego. So definitely it's been a very, very long time. And definitely there were some incidences that prevented me from speaking. But I'm back. We're back now, and that's great. I'm really excited to share actually what I've learned since that time, which have been pretty revolutionary, not only for my practice, but also for many other practitioners' practices. So I'm super excited to share. Oh, and I'm actively wearing my product. You'll have to all excuse my voice. It's a little crunchy today while I was at a trade show for the whole weekend and just talking up a storm for about 12 hours a day nonstop. And so my voice is a little bit on the harsh end, but a castor oil pack is soothing it. So that's why I'm wearing my little thyroid castor oil pack.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And for those in live audience, forgive the terrible lighting. I was just saying to Julie and Dr. Marisol that I have spent all this time, I'm on the road, and I spent all this time setting up the perfect lighting, and then the light just changed and everything. Anyways, now it's really dark, even though I have these glaring lights in my eyes, but not on the screen. Whatever. This is what happens is we do what we do. So let me formally introduce you to Dr. Marisol, founder of the Queen of Thrones. She has dedicated over 20 years to sharing the powerful benefits of castor oil and castor oil packs. Through her own healing journey and clinical experience, she reimagined these ancient tools for modern wellness. She's the author of Castor Oil Glow Up. She blends science, soul, and simplicity to empower women to embrace purposeful self-care, energetic balance, and clean beauty, reminding us that true beauty is a return to what's pure, natural, and deeply aligned. With her signature blend of science, soul, and simplicity, Dr. Marisol empowers women to embrace clean beauty, energetic balance, and purposeful self-care. And I just want to share that I have had the delight of personally hanging out with Dr. Marisol. I'm thinking back to when we actually met for the first time.
It was
might have been here at my chair. It was
probably
my chair.
Probably my first one was back in 2018, so I would not doubt that.
Yes, mine. Yeah, I was been coming since 2017. So yes, it's been a minute. We've been seeing each other, and I'm so excited because, as you are all about to see, and if you have followed her, which I strongly recommend doing, and the Queen of Thrones, I strongly recommend it. She is so much fun, so like a wealth of information. This is going to be a fantastic conversation, and I just have to tell you, just really funny first story. My very first experience with a castor oil pack. Long before I discovered your company. I remember I was living in LA. My daughter was like a year and a half. She was like just walking, but not walking well. And I can't actually remember the reason why I decided to try a castor oil pack. Someone recommended it. I'd resisted it. And I was like, fine, I will do it. And I got like the bottle of castor oil, and I got the old towel, and I think some saran wrap or something was involved. Yeah. Oh my God, the mess, right? It was just this like horrible, like it was sticky. It was oily. We had that, we were still, my husband and I still very, earlier on in a stage of business. So like we were hustling. So we had that like kind of old skanky couch that I think we all have at the beginning when the kids are young.
Yeah.
So I remember like oil stains on, it was just such a mess. And I didn't do it again until I found yours, because I thought, what in the world is this? Why would anyone ever do this? So tell us like what got you into castor oil and brought you on this journey.
You know, Margaret, it's that same, exactly what you just said was exactly my experience. Only I didn't have the balls to do the Castor Oil pack until I actually made a pack, like a Queen of the Thrones pack, because it just did not make sense to me. It sounded so woo-woo, and there was just so many levels to, like layers to it. And the big reason why I got into them, you know, Castor Oil was stalking me since my early 20s. It was popping up everywhere in my life, and I kept on resisting it. I was like, no, this stuff sounds like woo woo. It sounds like snake oil. It does absolutely everything. Nothing does everything. I don't believe it. You know, like I was so resistant to it. You know, later on in life, I learned from like Marcus Aurelius, who's like a Stoic philosopher, one of the emperors of Rome. And, you know, he would always say like, you know, what you resist is the way. You know, and I wish I had learned that earlier on in my life. And now I'm really coming from a platform, like sharing with people that, you know, the things that you resist in your life typically are the way. You're just resistant for them because you're just not ready to transform. And you've got to put all the things in play in order for you to have that transformation, right? So I remember being in naturopathic college, and you know, it's so extremely stressful. You are in class for like 50 hours a week, and then you have about 30 hours of studying. You have an exam every single day almost without brief. It's just intense. And I had always been a very, very energetic person. And I've also always been a perfectionist up until now. Now I'm in recovery from perfectionism, but I was that to the extreme. And I also didn't come from a science background. So for me to become a naturopathic doctor, it was a lot more challenging than most people. So it demanded me to really study lots and lots of hours. At the same time, I was doing everything right naturopathically. I was eating the right foods. I was taking the right supplements. I was, you know, doing the right exercises. I was, you know, following the diet, seeing the doctors, doing the colon hydrotherapy, the IV therapy. And, you know, in the final stage of my third year, I was going into my clinical fourth year. I literally had a burnout so bad. I had not an ounce of energy in my body. Like I was so scared. I thought I was dying. I could not get out of bed. Like, and the worst to me was that here I was doing all the things that I'm supposed to be prescribing when I become a naturopath in a little bit of a year from now. You know, I was like, this is scary. This is really, really scary. Like, is this profession a fraud? Like, again, I started thinking all of those thoughts again, right? That I got cheated, that it's not true. It's all woo woo. But when I then, you know, came to realize a beautiful light bulb came up in my head. And my mom had said to me, you know, just take the time that you need to rest and relax, which is something my mother would never say to me because my mother was also a perfectionist. But I think she was coming to that point in her life as well, too, that, you know, you needed to start to take care of yourself more. And so I took as much time as I needed to rest. I thought it was going to be a year because that's what the doctors were telling me. The doctors didn't even really know what was going on with me. Like my general labs all looked fine. You know, there was a few things that were a little bit off, but nothing that would be the causative factor of me having this severe deficiency breakdown, like burnout, no control of my bowels. I was either overly constipated or overly had diarrhea. So there was just no rhyme and reason to it, right? And I remember very, very clearly the light bulb in my head going off, saying to myself, like, you know, there's just one thing you haven't tried, and it's that castor oil pack. And I was like, oh, I'm like, fine, I've got nothing to lose now. You know, I'm in bed, I can't get out of bed, so I may as well try this thing. And you know, but I wasn't going to try it. I was still resistant because I didn't want to try it the old way. I didn't believe in the saran wrap. I didn't love that because I came from a background of homotoxicology, so the study of toxins in the human system. And to me, it made absolutely no sense to add plastic with oil. And a lot of the things within the castor oil industry, like most of the castor oil was in plastic bottles, all of those things did not fit right with me. Like they just did not sit well. And so I went about making myself my own very first pack. And then when I put it on my body, the oil on the pack, and I put it on my body, that moment will forever remain imprinted in my mind as the moment that I began to truly transform and change and move into my true purpose. And this is what I feel castor oil packs do for everybody. Because if there's a way that I can describe it, it's from a biblical story when the sky opened up and the angels began to sing. And that's literally what I felt when I put the pack on my body. And what I realized, it was also the very first time that I was ever in my lifetime able to meditate. Despite buying all the things to do it, the cushion, the thing, the music, the headspace, the that, the this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure everyone here who's listening is probably feeling along these same lines, that they bought it all, but none of it was working. And then I was literally almost in a trance, wearing that castor oil pack and just relaxing and actually starting to feel good in my body. And gave me so much hope, because I was so out of hope. And so I started doing the castor oil pack every single night. And it brought me back to my feet. Within a few days, my bowels started to regulate. I was able to start to eat food, absorb. I was sleeping deeper throughout the nighttime. I was starting to have a lot of dreams, and this is very normal with the castor oil pack, because the castor oil pack is very, very powerful at moving your subconscious memories and thoughts and traumas that are stuck in your body, right? That's a huge part of what castor oil packs do, and what people don't understand that it does, which I'm really now very excited to speak about, because it's all this energetic realm. And what castor oil packs did for me, I knew I needed to meditate. I was trying to meditate like since second year, and I just could not. Every single time I would sit down there, I would get a panic attack. I would be like, and then I'd start to like get tight in my chest, and I couldn't breathe, and I'd get tingles everywhere. And I was like, it was horrible, just horrible. And so I would keep on trying, but I keep on having to give up because my body wouldn't let me go there.
Right.
And fast forward, as I started working deeper and deeper into castor oil packs, I started to realize, I'm like, that's the missing link. Meditation for me, meditation is a way that people embody themselves. I was completely out of my first, second, and third chakra, and I was up in my head, and I was completely disassociated from my body. And so, of course, I couldn't meditate. And of course, when I tried to get into my body to try to meditate, my body would freak out because it hadn't been there probably since birth. I grew up with a lot of different traumas, from being an immigrant in a small town, from being poor, from being different from all the other kids, all of these different aspects. So for me, trauma was kind of the name of the game. And I also had like family line traumas as well too, that were given and transposed onto me. So for me, the castor oil pack really started to become this place where I began to embody myself. And what I realized was that a lot of people are not embodied. Most patients are disembodied, and most of them are trying to embody by taking supplements, doing the same thing that I was doing, taking the supplements, seeing the doctors, doing the colon hydrotherapies, doing the IVs, spending thousands of dollars on all of these different things. And yet they're not solid in their bodies, and they're not open to receive nor to transform. Because if you're not embodied, it's all just congesting in your gut space. And that's why people have things like IBS and constipation and et cetera, because it's completely energetic. You've got to embody your body in order for your body to receive, to be able to absorb, to be able to do better, for you to think clearer. It makes sense to me. And I'm sure for many of you listening, it makes complete sense to you too. Just people haven't been speaking about it. All we speak about is supplements and those types of tools. But, the skin is one of the biggest tools and organs that connects us to our skin. So long story short, that led me to making castor oil packs like the number one priority in my clinical practice when I was in my clinical practice for over a decade. And wanting to constantly improve them and make them better and easier to do, along with the castor oil. And then evolving my practice not only from the castor oil packs, but also into clean beauty, because I love beauty. And I think beauty is, one of the ways that we express our shining soul. And I don't want to do it with chemicals, and I don't want to do it with chemical products. So I've been able to find so many different ways and hacks in order to use castor oil as a brand new beauty product. So that's really, really awesome.
This is so powerful, and even more perfect timing than I realized. I knew I couldn't wait to talk with you, but the last couple of interviews that we've done here, we had Dr. Amy Apigian on talking about the biology of trauma. We had Dr. Brandy Cummings on talking about different ways to sort of really energetically support our clients. And I think we all know that, we talk about like nervous system regulation, and we know that the stored, how the body keeps the score, right? Like we know that there's this huge physiological impact, but to have what I'm hearing from you is a really practical, tangible tool that supports the physiology and the energetics of getting into that parasympathetic state, which we know is so critical. And as a like everything you're describing, I'm like, yeah, no, yeah. You know, like living in your head, being in just overdrive. As entrepreneurs, as people who care so passionately about their clients and their patients and just wanting to do good, we can drive ourselves into this place.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one thing to know that we need to be in parasympathetic. It's another thing to get there. And like you know, the meditation, that is something that is just like, I mean, when people talk about meditation as stress relief, I'm like, I find meditation so freaking stressful. I have found a technique that can like get me there as close as possible. But I love this idea of physically supporting yourself. So you got the two elements really, because I feel like this is like the missing piece. We needed like a thing to do, because we can all talk about being, but it's hard. You can't just like pop into that. And so having a practical tool that will shift the physiology and the energetics, it just makes so much sense. And this does make more sense. I can remember back in the day when I first was, you know, on the couch with oil dripping down. You know, it was like the thought was, well, this is supporting detoxification. This is supporting the liver. And we put it over the liver. And I do remember lying there in this sort of mucky mess thinking, how exactly is this working? Like how far have I gone down, as you talked about, the woo-woo path, that I'm spreading this kind of stinky, messy oil on my body. I'm getting the couch dirty. I'm trying to keep my baby out of it. Yeah. And thinking this is detoxing my liver. Like clearly I have joined the complete whack jobs out there. Yeah. So can you like help us understand too? So we're talking about this from an energetics level, and you know, you're right now wearing the pack on your throat, and we talk, you know, you shared that, you know, you've been talking all weekend. So there is, you know, we are supporting the energetics, but we are also being kind of organ specific or system specific. Can you just help us unpack that a little bit?
Yeah. And you know, I'm going to go a little bit deep here because I think it's really, really important that for people to, because for practitioners, you need to understand really like how we evolve through our stages of life, because this is what impacts it the most. Because especially most of us are treating women in perimenopause and menopause, right? At least I know for me in my clinical practice, I'm going through perimenopause right now. You know, things change, and it's really actually great to be going through it because now I can really see the theories that were developing up in my mind and being downloaded. I'm actually like, okay, this makes complete sense with how I'm feeling and how my friends are all feeling and how my patients were reporting feeling. So one of the things is that I'm very much into Ayurvedic medicine and traditional Chinese medicine and all the energetic medicines that are out there, because I feel that they're fantastic guides to understanding how we evolve in our bodies. And so there are energetics in our bodies. There's earth, wind, and fire. Earth is known as the Kapha dosha, which basically means like a constitution. I'm sure people have heard of this. You've got wind, which is vata, which is you know, the air constitution, and then you've got fire, which is pitta. Now I like calling it earth, wind, and fire because I'm a big fan of the band. If you go look at their album cover, it's literally like the colors of the chakra and a pyramid, third eye. Like it's kind of like spooky and eerie. And I'm like, I was looking at this last night and I'm like, wow, that correlates right to the Ayurvedic doshas. Anyhow, a little bit of a side note there, but that's the rabbit holes I love to go down. But here's the thing is that when we're before puberty, we're in the kapha stage of life. So the kapha stage of life is when, you know, we're kind of packing on the meat, and we need to because we're growing at a very rapid rate. And it's the most rapid rate of our lives. So, you know, we'll go periods where we're really, really chubby. That was one of my situations, extremely chubby. And then I leaned up and then I went lean the rest of my life. And some kids just keep on like doing the accordion, I like to call it. Like they chub out, they lean up, they chub out, they lean up. Every time they're about to have a growth spurt, if you've had kids, you remember their chubby phases and their lean and then chub feeling, right? And that's the kapha stage of life. So that stage is all about grounding and developing your security. The biggest problem is that the majority of us don't develop that grounding, nor do we develop the security, mainly because of the society we live in like patterns throughout our interpersonal patterns throughout our family. And so we don't really develop that sense of security that we wish we had. There are a few people who do, and those I like to call unicorns, but you know, they're few and far between. Then after puberty, we move into the fire stage of life. Okay. So the fire stage of life is from puberty all the way up till we start perimenopause. And And as you know, perimenopause can start from some women as early as 35 years of life. So this is the fire stage. So you're on fire. You're about pleasure. You're about passion. You're all about, really like experiencing different things. And this is when you go crazy in your teens and your early 20s, right? And then you start to settle in a little bit into that fire as you start to have kids, and you get to become a little bit more docile and regulated in your patterns. And you have a beautiful fire rather than a raging fire like you did when you first started your hormones, if that makes sense to everybody.
Totally.
And think about this, and I want you to associate this to the chakras, okay? Because the lower three chakras, the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus chakra are associated to our youthful times. In fact, the fire symbol starts happening in the solar plexus chakra. So fire, and then you've got the air and the wind moving into the heart. And this is associated to the kapha time of life, right? And then we move into the vata stage of perimenopause, which is all up in our heads. And this is where things get dangerous. And this is why many women, majority women going through perimenopause, start to lose their minds because the energy is moving upwards at a faster pace. And it's just natural because we're evolving to our eventual evolution of moving into a gaseous ether-like state, right? When we pass away. So we move up into our minds, but we're still on earth. So our existence becomes uncomfortable, especially the more traumas we have, because the more disassociated that we've been earlier on in life from those lower areas of the body, we're more disassociated into the upper areas of the body. So what I started to realize as I started moving through perimenopause, and this is what even made my Castor Oil practice, my grounding practices even stronger and stronger. I started working on longer meditation, hour-long meditations, twice a day, yoga. Like I'm becoming a yoga teacher, Ayurvedic instructor, all these things, because I know that this is a solution, the pathway forward, because, as much as we love the things like hormone replacements and all of these things that all have a place and a role, it all comes down to energy at the end of the day, because we are all energy, bottom line. That's it, right? So this vata state becomes very disruptful. And for me, I was experiencing it as emotions I could not control. And this was because I had been literally like swallowing down my emotions and keeping them down. And that was what was grounding me. But now I moved into the vata state of life, and that was all coming up because I didn't have proper solid grounding. And I was even doing castor oil packs, thank God. Had I not been doing it, I think I would have been a massive mess. Like, honestly, I would have been disaster zone, And so what I started realizing is that I needed more grounding practices. So I started really getting diligent on my castor oil pack. I was always pretty good at doing it as often as possible, but now I'm doing it nightly. And I'm also doing it with an eye mask. And the reason I'm doing it both with the liver and the eye mask is because of the traditional Chinese meridians that go through the liver. They are the liver meridian, but they also end up around the eyes. So in order to close the circuit, I put the eye mask on as well as the liver pack every night before going to bed. And what it supports is my being able to center myself in my body and ground myself and embody myself in me. Because otherwise, all of us people pleasers out there, basically what we're doing is we are grounding into everything else outside of us. People, partners, your little solar plexus is going to ground into your ego-based job, into that beautiful car you might have, those clothing, that jewelry, that gorgeous house. But it's so unstable and so unsafe to ground into these things outside of us. The only place to ground is within. And the castor oil pack contains your grounding cord, holds you within during that most important time of night when everything starts to connect from ground to heaven. And this is a time when everything begins to align. And if you're outside of your body, and that expresses itself as being unable to fall asleep, waking up through the middle of the night for multiple different reasons, usually around the hours between 1 and 4 a.m. The traditional Chinese medicine clock is 1 and 3 a.m., but the Vata time of the evening is between 1 and 4 a.m. You see, so it all connects together. Like Ayurvedic medicine, I see so many connections. It's the same kind of thing you experience when you go to look at different religions and their different Bibles, like the Bible, the Quran, the Kabbalah, like it's all the same eventually. You start to see all the same patterns. And so this is why it's so important to ground before you go into that quiet time of night, that time when you are meant to connect and you're also meant to process all of the subconscious patterns that have been stuck up in your body for life. And the thing with perimenopause and menopause is that we've got to start dealing with them for us to age into our purpose. Because this is a thing. I know I'm aging. Margaret, I know you're aging, right?
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. And for me, I'm not into Botox or filler. Not my game. I don't want to do it. Not my style. And I'm cool if you do. You do, you boo. All good. But here's the thing is I don't want to age gracefully. I don't want to, like, what is it that people are, the longevity thing. I want to age on purpose. I want to be becoming the person that I'm supposed to be, not the best version of myself. I already am the best version of myself right now. I hate when people say that. I'm like, you are the best version of yourself right now. This is what you're expressing right now. How can that be wrong? This is the best version of me right now. But I want to move into who I'm meant to be and what I was destined, what I'm on purpose to do. And that's where I find castor oil packs, as you said at the beginning, are literally the tool that support people in aligning and reconnecting with the energetic side of themselves. Because I was doing yoga, I was doing other things, but it's not the same as the pack. The pack has an uncanny way to connect the physical to the energetic, and no other thing does that. And that is why they've been in existence forever, since millennial, since the time of Cleopatra, and Hippocrates loved them. Avicenna, every great medical doctor or practitioner all use them. It's all in their notes and in their books. It's sad that the FDA does not allow me to talk about it. But I can talk about the energetic thing, which I believe in anyways more, because honestly, at the end of the day, when you get into your body, when you embody yourself, that's the time and the place when you open up to the ability to heal. Otherwise, you're just going through the motions and you're spending money and people really aren't getting anywhere.
Hi friends, it's Margaret here with some news I am super excited to share with you. As many of you know, I am not just your podcast host. I am also the executive director of the Institute of Restorative Health. And for years, we have been getting the same request from practitioners everywhere. They'll say to me, I've heard incredible things about your clinical training programs, but I can't wait for your next certification cohort. Can I start learning now? Well, the answer is finally yes. And I couldn't be more thrilled about what this means for practitioners who are ready to transform how they approach client care. We are launching Mastering the Art and Science of Gastrointestinal Healing Core Curriculum Self-Study through the Institute of Restorative Health. This gives you immediate access to the foundational curriculum that has equipped over 1,400 certified practitioners worldwide. This is perfect if you're searching for the most effective approaches to help your clients feel better, faster, and get meaningful results. You're going to get all foundational training modules, curated Q&A sessions from previous cohorts, and dozens of real-world case studies, all at your own pace for 1 full year. Now, I want to be clear. This provides foundational knowledge and curriculum access. It's not comprehensive clinical training. You're not going to receive live instruction, the personalized mentorship, or the certification through the Institute of Restorative Health. Think of it as exploring our methodology before deciding on full certification. So for $1,400, you can dive in today instead of wondering whether our approach is right for you. And if you decide you want a complete certification experience later on, you can upgrade anytime, and we'll apply your investment towards that full certification tuition. Visit instituteofrestorative-health.com to learn more and enroll in the core curriculum today. Your next breakthrough starts with understanding these foundations. The question is, are you ready to begin? Again, that's instituteofrestorative-health.com. We'll see you there. The number of dots that you have just connected with me, and I can see all the hearts coming up with, I know, everybody who is watching in live. You're just pulling it all together in this really powerful way. I want to ask, so you mentioned wearing the eye mask and the castor oil on your liver at night.
Yes.
Do you do it through the night? Let's talk protocols here, because
Sure.
we got a team of practitioners.
Let's do it.
Folks are watching this. They're going to want to know, what should I do? When should I recommend this? Is there anyone who shouldn't? There's always that question. But let's start first with like the protocols, if we want to call it that, or the recommended, whatever the FDA will allow us to say. How long are you wearing it for? Are you wearing it overnight? Is there too much? Give me the scoop on the nitty gritty.
Perfect. So I love the same self-care practices, and I love teaching my patients about that as well too, right? Because it's all about like when you start to honestly take ownership and start to self-care, things start to transform and change. And so I always say this is like a self-care practice, no different than you wake up in the morning and you shower, right? This is the same kind of a thing. You make that happen, you brush your teeth, hopefully. These are things that just become part of you, and it's a self-care ritual that goes beyond anything, right? So first things first, I love to start by the little saying I've been saying. For everybody on everything, that's castor oil, except pregnancy. Pregnancy is the only time where it is contraindicated, and the reason being is that orally castor oil is used as a laxative, but it's also used by midwives and doulas in order to induce labor. So that's the only time that it's not used. But otherwise, for everybody on everything is basically kind of the guideline. So that makes it nice and easy to remember. The other thing is that if people have not ever done a castor oil pack, a nice little protocol that I've been working with some of my clinicians. I'm no longer in clinical practice, but I'm finding the research and the information and the old ancient texts, and then bringing it back to my practitioners, and they're practicing with it. Obviously, a lot of my best friends are all naturopathic doctors and like functional, and like you in practice, right? Like all practitioners. So, we're always chatting, and they're trying, they're giving me the feedback. And one of the things that we've done with really, really, like if you have hyper-reactive people, most of the time people can start with the castor oil liver pack and the eye mask, and there's absolutely no problem. And that's in general, like 97% of the patient population. Now, probably about 3% of your peeps are not going to be able to do that because they're your high reactors. So if they're a high reactor, what I recommend is them doing a belly button roll on. So actually using castor oil in the belly button first. And what that does, now you probably heard on social media all about belly button, castor oil on belly button. Please recommend your clients to stay away from using those stick-it things with the castor oil because they're toxic. The glue is toxic, and so is the material. And if they're sleeping with that overnight, that's just not going to be a good idea. The roll-on is awesome. It's a little crystal quartz roll-on that you basically can roll into the belly button. The belly button is such a powerful energetic zone. In traditional Chinese medicine, the acupuncture point is CN8 and CV8, so conception vessel 8. And it is not ever allowed. It's contraindicated to be punctured because it is such a powerful place. And if you think about it, it's where our grounding cord comes out of, right? Because our first place of grounding was in our mothers with our umbilical cord. So this is why it's never punctured. But what is great with it is to oil it. And so you can oil and roll in a direction depending on how your energy is. So if you're feeling completely like slow, lethargic, things aren't moving in your lower abdomen, you can take the roller and roll it in a clockwise direction. Same way that the large intestine moves, okay? When it's healthy and it's moving and you're having good bowel movements. If they're having too many bowel movements or they're just too up in their head, all stressed out, crazy, running around, roll it the other way. So that's usually, and you can teach your clients to do that. And so then that way they have that as a tool because usually after about 3 or 4 days, they can then like move up into doing a castor oil liver pack. If it's a highly reactive patient, take 7 days doing that, then move up to the liver pack. But then they can use their belly button roll on during the day acutely if they're feeling, again, energetically like they're lethargic, things aren't moving in their body, or if they're, and again, clockwise or counterclockwise if they're just like they can't slow down and everything in their body's acting that way. So that's the way you work with the roll on. So once they start doing the liver pack, then I upgrade them up also to the eye mask. And I just love the eye mask. It's like those two, I just don't leave the house without them. I just do not. Like it's the first thing that goes in my luggage. I put them in the luggage and I'm taking them with me. And if you can see, we now actually have insert refills for the pack so that people, instead of having to wash the outside shell, they can just use the refill and then wash this part and then just keep on refilling it, which is a lot more cost effective. But I brought this pack because this is what I wanted to show you. This is a pack that is ready to be disposed of. I don't know if you can see, but this is a brand new pack. You could see how absorbed it is with oil, right?
Yeah.
So this pack has now had its time. I've washed it. I've done everything with it. But eventually, typically after 2 or 3 months, if you're really, really good at exchanging out your inserts, you end up getting way more cost effective with your pack, and the outside shell can last usually 6 months. But if you're not and you don't change it out, then it's about a 3-month. And then you're switching out these and washing these out, and you keep on doing that. So it makes it really, really simple. It puts a little bit more weight, makes it feel more like a warm hug, and it has even greater an effect to ground you. Because honestly, the skin is the biggest grounding organ we have, and it's underutilized in medicine. It's utilized for people to go do an acupuncture treatment, or to go do a massage therapy treatment, or to hopefully be in a loving relationship or with loving people around them, that they get to get a lot of hugs, which is why I give a lot of hugs. I think we should all, even though in my profession they told us never to give hugs, I give hugs all the time because it's an organ system, and I knew I was doing something and helping my patient giving hugs. So all you out there, I'm giving you a hug. Virtually. Yeah. So that's the thing, because it creates that oxytocin boost, right? Hugs, we know, create oxytocin and the ability to feel good in our skin and good in our body. And that's why we have those different expressions. Like, that is when we are embodied. And once we're embodied, we open the channels. And when you open up the channels, welcome who you are to be on purpose, right? Like, and it's not that it's immediate. For some people, they feel immediately better and they have hope, which is what I experienced. Some take a little bit longer. Again, it depends on the type of patients you have. But, there's usually, I would have patients do castor oil packs before they even came to see me, because I wanted them to have a win. And if they had a win, like they were more compliant. They actually, before they even got to me, were already recommending me to their friends, like telling their friends to book with me. It was insane. Like, that's how I built my practice. But it really, really helped to be able to really just, help people ground, because that sets the stage for anything that you're doing from a clinical perspective when it comes to supplements and all those things that we can prescribe for conditions. Again, castor oil packs, they don't do what people said they do. They don't cleanse, they don't detox, they don't they don't lymph drain, they don't do any of that. That was what we said when we really didn't know. Now I've been able to open up my eyes to what they really truly do. And I actually even understand it with regards to Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce was a sleeping prophet. He would download that people needed to do it. And it makes total sense to me now, right? It's meant to help you embody yourself, which the 99% of people are disembodied. You embody, and then you open, and you can receive. And so I typically start people with the liver pack, and then I'll move them to other things, because the main purpose of the liver in Ayurveda and with regards to the chakras and the solar plexus, which is the chakra that's right next to the liver, the main problem with the solar plexus is our egos, right? And the sad thing about in our society today is that, we're driven by our egos because we're trying to just survive in this society of paternalistic, and them telling us what to do and who we should be and what we should become and all of that stuff. But the reality is we're here to transform on our own divine directive. Our inner child and our higher self knows exactly what we need to be doing on this world. And it's just that we haven't been embodied in our inner child, and we haven't opened up the channels to our higher purpose, right? So that's where the liver really is the first place to begin, because it's that transformation zone. And then from there, you can go deeper and deeper. And honestly, the first 3 chakras are probably the ones we want to work on the most: the root, the sacral, and the solar, because of our society. We tend to be disembodied in our heads. And I don't know about you, but I know a lot of meditation teachers, I've followed with a few of them for quite some time, that are constantly just getting people to go up to their pineal gland and hit it, or go up to their third eye and hit that and go there. But, and that might be really good for men, but for women in a paternalistic society, that is not good. For women, we need to embody who we are, because we've been told to not be who we are for our entire lives. our entire lives. And so we get this opportunity to reclaim who we are during perimenopause. I feel so good saying this. I feel liberated, honestly, finally, Margaret. I get to say the truth of what castor oil packs do. Thank you, FDA. I'm like, I'm getting chills this entire conversation. But yeah, but it comes down to that. And I have many spiritual teachers and practitioners that I work with and that I educate with who say the same thing too. You know, in India, it's fine to be working on like the third eye, but they come from a very different, like the Westerns, they're a very different society. They also deal with a lot of problems like constant dysentery, right? Which is where things are just like down too much, right? Where our society deals with constipation and things are, what's constipation? Think about that energetically. It's going up. All the energy's going up. So women have got to absolutely focus on moving things down and embodying who we are meant to be. So that's most important. And then that comes into play with the pelvic pack, right? Because the pelvic pack is typically used for solar plexus chakra. This is the pelvic pack. The difference with it is it's wider and longer, and it is meant to go on the liver from like close to this side of the liver all the way to that side of the liver, right? Or sorry, hips, not liver. But this pack, so this where we've used it for is typically like anything that has to do with the pelvic region. So if there are issues with ovaries, uterus, anything that is stagnant energy there. And by the way, a lot of traumas that women have, if you have patients who've been exposed to sexual type traumas, anything that has occurred within that area of the body, that's where the pelvic trauma, as you go deeper into work with your clients, then you're moving them to doing some pelvic pack work as well too as they embody. And even for some people that's not necessary. Some people just keep on doing the liver pack, but it really just depends on how you're working with your clients. Like if you see things like any accumulation of things in the tissues of the pelvic region, and again, and I'm not saying that this treats cysts or fibroids or anything like that. Those are just symbols to us that show us that there's stagnant energy there that we would love to move, and moving of the energy that again helps the body to align. And then you can work your magic with the different supplements you're working, and you're just going to see that the actual tools that are meant to treat those things, how much better they work, which is, I think, fascinating to me. And same goes for this pack. So this is the fifth chakra, right? The throat chakra, speaking the truth. I think I just spoke the truth too much this weekend, but what this chakra is about, when it is unhealthy, and let's take this just to conceptualize it within what we've been talking about all afternoon, is that we're women living in a patriarchal society, trying to live the way that we're supposed to live, which people are telling us the way that we're supposed to live, not really connecting to our feminine side, but more to our male center side. And so we are basically constantly telling lies because we're not speaking our feminine truth, right? And the throat chakra, when it is healthy, is all about purification. So no kidding, thyroid disease is in epidemic proportions. And it's now starting to plague men too, energetically, because I don't think that our society is in a good state for anyone at this point. Like one of the comments at the show actually this weekend was that, people have such a fear and lack of safety in this world, in this day and age. And so that's all us needing to be grounded, right? And speaking our truth and becoming, like, again, not the best version of who we are. We already are the best version, but who we are on purpose, right? What's our purpose to be here for, right? And the interesting thing is that this chakra is also the creative expression chakra, and that correlates to also our emotions, which are expressive, and our emotions are held within the sacral chakra. So isn't that interesting about how, we have the entire pathway of the pituitary, thyroid, ovarian, adrenal axis, right? And the thyroid the thyroid pack, the throat chakra, and the sacral chakra, where the uterus and ovaries are, they're interconnected. So it makes so much sense. So anyhow, so that would be one way that I would apply it in practice. If someone is dealing with like thyroid issues, and the majority of my thyroid patients, when I got them to either leave their husbands or their jobs that they hated, their thyroid would cure. Like, I'm serious. Right. Like, it wasn't because they weren't speaking their truth in those relationships.
Right.
Right. And so once they addressed those things, they were able to get into a better state. And of course, they were still doing things like they were taking their armor thyroid, they were doing, their different tools. And but they had now the ability to align and do better in their bodies. So yeah, it's fascinating. It's just every day it blows my mind. And then I could say also too, because I've been dealing with this recently, because I have been doing a lot of grounding work in terms of being rooted and how my root chakra was injured as a child, with regards to never feeling within a community, because I never felt it at home in my being raised in Northern Ontario, Canada. I never felt at home. I also never felt at home in South America. I never felt really at home in my home. So for me, a lot of root chakra has been necessary to work. And so I have been working that. And I've been noticing is, as I've been doing that, I've been having like pain syndromes in my back. And I've correlated that to TMS, which is tension muscular syndrome, which truly, honestly, is emotionally based for many times. I went and got an MRI done because I'm like, when you're a doctor and you've treated cancer and all kinds of things, you always think the worst thing. So I'm like, before I go into energetic thing, I need to first know, I need to just see what, let me get an idea. Although my inclination, my intuition was like, you're doing grounding work. So, stuff is moving. And when stuff moves, there can be a little bit of, discomfort during that time. And sure enough, like in TMS, there's a great book that I'm reading right now, and I highly recommend it. It's from, let me just grab the title of it because it's just excellent. It's from Nicole, Mind Your Body, from Nicole Shacks, and she talks a lot about TMS, and it's great, and a lot of journaling, which is also another excellent grounding exercise, which I've always found challenges to do, but now I'm working on that because I see the benefit of it. But that's where our low back pack works great for, right? Because you're covering, the fear in traditional Chinese medicine that is associated to the kidneys, and the low back pack is large enough to cover all the way from the sciatic nerve all the way up your spine, up to your kidneys and adrenal glands, right? So that is something, if there's a lot of stressors, if the client is needing a lot of grounding, that's when you would use that. So that's when you get really, really advanced. But in general, you start with belly button, eye mask, and liver pack. And then you see what your patient has. Do they have thyroid issues? Are they speaking their truth? How are they in embodying themselves? They're not embodied. Okay, let's move them down into their bodies. And then the final one would be the breast packs. This is truly, again, this zone here, to your hands, shoulders, all the way to the rib cage. The breast packs are used, again, to give that hug to this area. This is the air center, the air energetics, right? So this is just something that needs to be retained. And truly, it's whether you have scars from post breast surgery that you want to address and improve the look of the scars. This is also, if there's anything that's just not feeling right in this area and you need to open it up, this is where you would use the breast packs. And then the crown. As I said, in the Western world, we don't act on over opening up our crown because most of us are already on up in there. In fact, we probably get too many downloads. This is my situation, too many downloads, and we don't know where to organize them. That's a great example of really, really wanting and choosing to work your ground and ground into the earth. However, this is really great once a week for our hair and for our crown chakra, and it nourishes our crown chakra and the scalp of our head. And for women, again, as we're moving into perimenopause, it's a wonderful thing, and it's super easy to do. It's clean. It feels like a hot oil hair treatment, like from the 80s and 90s, but without the heated oil, having to heat the oil. Right. It's literally just the cap that's very special and an outside shell that keeps all the heat in. So yeah, it's super neat.
Many awesome uses. Immediately I start thinking about kids.
Oh,
Can we use it with our kids? I mean, I think about, when I think about the physical holding and trying to get out of our heads, I love to think that kids are immune to that, at least in the early ages. But I'm already seeing, I can remember when my little girls were born, you watch their beautiful tummies go up and down with their breathing, and look at that example of true belly breathing that's just so natural, and how quickly, even, my girls are 9 and 13 right now, how quickly it became where now they're already up here. And, my youngest in particular, she's just fiery. And I mean, she and I very, very similar. And she's, she's in her head, all the energy goes up this way, and she has such a hard time winding down. So as you're talking, I'm thinking, why have I never thought about using this with Sasha? And you're nodding. So I'm thinking that this is totally, I can't see a reason why not to. And
no, yeah, everybody on everything except pregnancy. But the thing is again, let's go back to the stages of where we are in our life and where we are in our body. Those baby belly breaths, right? It was they were perfection. They, they came from the divine, and they knew they were divine, and they hadn't had all the subconscious programming that corrupted their mind, right? And so the earlier that children start this, the better that it is for them, because they then have a direct connection to what is grounding. And we actually have a little kids pack for those that are like tiny, from between the ages of like 1 and like 7 or 8. I think your girls would probably be at that stage now where they could probably just jump on into the liver pack. But with kids, sometimes how I worked with it is I always get the mom to example it. Yeah. I think it's really important. Like the mom is typically the nurturer. In some cases it's a man, but even if the man, can model it perfect, it's great. One of the parents has to model it, because then they start seeing that aspect of self-care. I wish I had that model. I did not have models of grounding at all growing up. I had the complete opposite. And so I never knew how to ground. And, so for me, like, I would have loved that. Had my parents started me on that, that would have been fantastic. And I would have done it if my mom showed me to do it. Right. So, and I know that kids would, and kids still are malleable, right? But it just needs to be presented to them in a way where they take ownership of it and they're the boss, right? So typically with them, I would start them like wearing it for an hour a night, right? Because the minimum you want to wear it is an hour. Ideally, it's worn overnight, but at least let's get an hour in, and that is absolutely ideal. The other thing which I love about this kids pack is I've also used them as knee packs for knee joints to soothe them, and we're actually going to be repackaging this, because we have some packaged and some not packaged, but people have been buying them like that. So we're going to be repackaging this into a knee joint pack, right? Awesome. Because it's great to just, again, help support and soothe. Knees are connected to the kidneys. That's fear. That's grounding. Once again, right? Yeah. Yeah. So, and an inability to move forward. Wild, eh?
We could have spent an entire hour talking about just this. What I don't think know, because you weren't here last year, is I dislocated my kneecap 10 days before I came to Mindshare a year ago. Oh. So I'm still on the tail end of like the recovery from that, but that is fascinating. I'm going to leave that there because I have so many other, we could just completely go in that direction, but that I've never heard knees connected with fear and kidneys. And certainly, why did I not think like inability to move forward? That is, I'm gonna meditate on that one and do journaling on that one tonight. Let me tell you.
And let me add in one more thing, because this is the two main things that happen to women as we age is knees and hips. Yeah. Two main things, knees and hips, and both of them. And depending on what side it is, left side of the body, well, that is going to be the feminine side. So some relationship, some feminine force in your life, there was some kind of conflict or stressor or fear-based issue that occurred. And if it's on the right side of the body, then it's with the male. And that's pretty common. That happens, like that's the sun side of the body. And then the left side is the lunar side of the body. And that happens with things like, I remember when I was with patients and, we would be diagnosing, like if they had diagnosable breast cancer on one side of their body, I would ask them immediately, like if it was on the left side, I'd be like, so tell me about your mother. Tell me about the female figures in your life or your daughters. How are those relationships? And it was like that. It was bang. It was very few that it didn't happen, but it just like, wow, blew my mind away. Right. Like, I'm like, wow. But yeah, so it's interesting. And the hips are powerful too. And they're in that same space with the knees, like of inability to move forward. Just the hips are more connected to the emotions, the inability to moving your emotions out of your body and moving forward from your emotions, right? Versus the knees is about grounding, right? When you stand up tall, they always tell you in like yoga practice, have a slight bend on your knees, right? Because if your knees are too rigid, you're not grounded. You're actually moving upwards, your energy. But if you're slightly bent, you're grounded. So the body is just fascinating. And I'm now 47 and I've been in the natural wellness industry since I was 22. And I'm so blessed that I was guided in this way and that I have been aging on purpose, and that I've been following the intuitive hits of where to go, because what I'm learning now, I mean, sure, I wish I knew it in my 20s, but I'm just happy that now I can share it, because to me, I think this is this is going to be the change for people. This is going to be how people are going to transform once we get as many. Margaret, thank you for helping me on this purpose, is getting as many practitioners on board, teaching and educating about the energetic side of things, and how castor oil packs really are that in between of the physical and the energetic body, right? And bringing it together, because we can't, we are literally an energetic body having a physical experience. And if we continue to only treat it from the physical perspective, we'll never get there. We'll never get anywhere.
I 100% agree with you. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm looking at the time. I could talk to you for hours and hours more. I want to make sure we address. So Ina in the chat has a question here. Logistics. Can you wear the liver pack, the eye mask, and the thyroid pack at the same time? And I think that would apply to all of these. Like, can we do all the things? You know,
Absolutely.
As they're going, I'm thinking, oh, I need that one. Oh, I need that one. Oh, I need that one. So it's good, right? We can do it all.
Great logistic question. So liver, thyroid, eye, perfect. But the thyroid you only wear for an hour. That's the one, because you don't want to go to bed with that, because I would feel uncomfortable. So you only wear that for an hour. So if I were to do it, I would wear like today I'm wearing the thyroid all day, and probably tomorrow, because my throat, it got a lot of use. So I'll be wearing this all day, and then at night I'll take it off and I'll wear my eye mask and I'll wear my liver pack, and that'll be good for me. The other way to do it, I love going with the moon for the liver and the pelvic pack also. So what I've done in my clinical practice is, and this is, so if you're not menstruating, we go based on the full moon. Okay. So what we start doing is on the full moon, if you're not menstruating, the full moon, you would go full moon all the way to new moon, which would typically be like kind of ovulation. The full moon would be like when the woman is menstruating, but she's not menstruating. So, and then that goes the same thing too if you have a younger patient. So say for an example, you have someone in their 20s and they're menstruating. When they start to menstruate, they do the liver pack. Okay. Women not having their period, they do full moon. They go to new moon, and then they switch over to the pelvic pack, because the younger woman, I'm not getting confusing here. The younger woman is doing it from her period till she ovulates 15 days later, the liver, because that's when all the energy is in the liver zone, and because the liver's letting go, right? The liver's letting go, and that's the whole action of the period. And then once the egg drops, the energy in the body moves from the liver down into the uterus and into the ovaries. And so then it's time to nurture and no longer focus on moving things like the liver was. Now it's time to nurture with the pelvic pack. So that's how we would use it. And that actually is very, very similar to like seed cycling, very almost identical to seed cycling, and you can pair it with seed cycling as well. And sometimes I even go as far as, whenever I'm doing the liver, to always wear the thyroid, just because if things are moving and the body's so relaxed, the thyroid is always so susceptible to things, you know. I'd like to always have it in like kind of protective zone, same as when you do like an x-ray, they always protect your thyroid, hopefully. And then when you wear the pelvic pack, I also sometimes include the breast packs as well, right? Because the energy moves to the nourishing, and those are all the nourishing organs, right? Yeah.
Joey's asking, do you actually go to bed with the eye mask?
Oh yes, please do. Trust me, it'll change everything for you. You won't leave home without it, honestly. And I do a whole makeup routine, and my new book has just come out called the Castor Oil Glow Up, and it talks about all the ways to use castor oil from a beauty perspective. I've been able to dump like the average woman uses 12 beauty products. I've dumped at least 8 with just using castor oil. Yeah.
And that's that's the Glow Up.
The Glow Up, the Castor Oil Glow Up book.
Glow Up. Okay, yeah. Perfect. We'll make sure that we include a link to that. Ellen asks, best way to approach constipation with this?
So it's all about, this is all a question about flow, not necessarily about constipation. Let's look at it from the energetic perspective. As I said earlier, look at constipation. What is that? Energy's going up. They're holding things in. It needs to flow down into the ground, right? So that would be like a belly button roll on. People would be, again, and this is not treating constipation. I want to be very clear on this. You are moving energy. You're using the roll on, in a clockwise direction, right? The way that you would do an abdominal massage, right? The direction you would do an abdominal massage if you were constipated. And then it would be, you typically like a liver pack, right? Which you would do at night. Yeah.
So I just had a conversation with a bunch of practitioners earlier here at Mindshare. We were talking about different ways a lot of them are working in 6-month packages, and the conversation came up of like a welcome pack. Like, what are some things that you could send your client that could be useful? I'm going to tell every single one of you who does this, and if you aren't doing this, it's a really good idea to do it. And if you don't have ideas, just do this. Like the Queen of Thrones welcome pack. I'm sure you have these packs, but what I would include, and then tell me what you would add to it, I would include the castor oil, obviously, the liver, the eye mask, and then the belly button roll on. What a beautiful welcome opportunity. Exactly as Dr. Marisol said, give them some easy wins right before you even get into the depth of the work. Help open their body and make them more receptive to it. Help them get into that parasympathetic state. Really help them. It's the way that I'm thinking of it as you're talking is it just like it really allows everything else we're doing to stick in land and quite likely reduce the amount of, the length of protocols, the intensity of protocols. If we can support, we're always doing everything that we can to help our clients get back their lives to truly thrive. My goal has always been when I work with someone, I want this person feeling better than they even know possible, right? Like I want them to go where their goal is, and then I want them to go beyond and to blow their mind with it. And there's so much working against us, which we don't need to go into because we're all so aware of it. So let's get more of these tools that are working for us and putting us and our clients into a place where they're actually really able and ready to heal.
And Margaret,
I knew this was going to be a great conversation, but I am like, I adore you. Thank you.
I adore you too, and I'm glad I surprised you. But this has been a work. I'm glad we didn't talk when we did because this is much better. I know things much better from a more heart-centered place and an embodied place than I did before. And you said the exact right word, land. We need to land our patients before they start protocols. We need to land them. And honestly, when we do that, that's a game changer. And it's no surprise, like on Queen of the Throne's website, our #1 comment is this is a game changer. And these are people who all come from the wellness industry, have been with practitioners, much like yourselves, just like me, and starting them on that as soon as possible. That's the way to build a practice. Having that welcome kit for them to just be like, okay, I got to start this, make it easy. And look, I'm available, and our team is also available to help figure that out for you as well too, with affiliate programs and wholesale options and all of these different things. Like you can even have something that they link to and they just purchase. You don't even have to carry the inventory, and we can create that specific pack. And that's exactly the pack that I use, Margaret. I put the roll-on in it so it's easy for them. They can use it on the liver, on the eyes, and then later on they can always upgrade to the bigger bottle of oil and just refill this, right? I'm trying to just make it so easy that they just have this go-to self-care ritual that they just know it's how they land in their bodies and how they know that they feel good with it. And yeah, it just makes me, and I guess my ask of everyone is to speak the way I'm speaking. Let's empower our patients. Let's teach them about the energetic body and let's not worry about what everyone else says about us, because I know that's why I wasn't speaking about it for a long time. And now I realize that I take full ownership for it, and I know I can't take anything back that I have in the past, but now I know is my chance to change that, and I'm going to, because you know what, the population is very receptive at this point because they're very, very disillusioned and they're looking for a different way. The rates of people leaving a religion, moving towards a spiritual mindset is mind-boggling. So it's our time. This literally is our time for us to talk about this and show them something that the medical system will never encourage or honor. And that's awesome, because that's exactly our lane.
Can you just tell us where should folks go if they want to reach out about either affiliate or wholesale accounts?
Yes, perfect. So the best email for affiliate accounts is PR. So PR at queenofthethrones.com, and just mention in there that you're a practitioner or wellness coach and that you saw me on and who you came from. So you came from Margaret Floyd Barry, and then that way my team will know, and they'll know that you get more golden gloves service. So just make sure that you mention that. And then for wholesale, you would do wholesale at queenofthethrones.com. And even if you just did one of them and just asked for everything that you want, they will direct you to the right people. My team is super here to support people. They're all bright shining stars and lights, and they all just want to do good in this world like me. So it's just a pleasure to be with them.
So good.
And they'll
Oh
help
my
you.
gosh, Dr. Marisol, thank you so much. I think you have really you knocked it out of the park on this one. I had no doubt, but I learned so many more things, and it's so much more personally relevant than I even realized it was going to be.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody who's here live. Thank you, listeners who are listening to the podcast and YouTube version. Have a glorious day, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Love you so much.